We all tend to get mildly lucky on occasion, like when we find that forgotten $10 in an old jean pocket or end up winning one of those Instagram giveaways. Some people, however, have been extraordinarily fortunate. It only took being in the right place at the right time to come across these things that changed their lives. In today's video, you'll learn about people who made some incredible discoveries that made them rich beyond comprehension. And all this happened just because they were extremely lucky, although some were also smart. After all, they put in an effort to try their luck. But before we get started, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe and click the notification bell for more such amazing content. Number 12. The Masquerade Hare. If you're an art enthusiast, the name Kit Williams would not be new to you. But for those who don't know him, in the year 1979 he published a book that took the artistic minds worldwide by surprise. In this book he had captured the imagination of people all over the world. Titled Masquerade, this book was an illustrated story, but with a catch. The story was an enigmatic puzzle. It had a secret hidden in it, and whoever could solve it would be led to the location of an 18-karat gold hare inset embellished with rubies, pearls, and moonstones. This single accessory was worth more than $7,000 back then even. Obviously, the book became a massive success and sold more than 1 million copies worldwide. According to reports, the first edition of Masquerade sold out within 2 days of its release. Then there were many Masquerade-themed publicity attempts too. The hunt got pretty wild pretty fast, with everyone going around digging up land to find the treasure. Some landowners were even compelled to put up signs forbidding the treasure hunters from digging on their properties. In case you're curious to find out, the clues from Kit's book led some scientists to the location of the inset 3 years after the book was out. But unlucky for them, a quiet and shy puzzle enthusiast named Ken Thomas outsmarted them and got to it first. He found the trinket in Amt Hill, England. But that's not all, it gets much more interesting. As it turns out, Thomas found the location of the object by sweet-talking to one of Kit's girlfriends. She had mentioned to him a picnic she'd had with Kit in the same spot a while ago, and that is how Ken managed to solve the mystery of Masquerade. The golden hare was later sold at an auction, but its story definitely will live on. Number 11. The Declaration of Independence found in England. This one-of-a-kind parchment has managed to topple world history. Turns out an extremely rare manuscript of the US Declaration of Independence was discovered in an archive of England. This is one of the only 2 known documents of its kind. This declaration was found by 2 Harvard researchers. Now, at first glance, this old and fragile parchment may seem worthless, but it has enormous value as one of the most important artifacts in the entire American history. There's only one other original declaration parchment that's safely locked away in the vaults of the National Archives of Washington, D.C. Experts examined it and estimated it dates back to 1790 and was probably made in New York or Philadelphia. But the real question is, how did this declaration reach England? Historians are of the view that it might have been commissioned by a man who later contributed to drafting the US Constitution. It might have been the property of a British duke at some point, but that's all they've hypothesized till now. But it's hard to say what the story is behind this declaration and its mysterious presence thousands of miles away from where it was drafted. Number 10. The Massachusetts Family Treasure. Like many families, this Massachusetts family had a deep secret, and also a very expensive one. Apparently worth tens of thousands of dollars, legend has it the secret of this treasure has been passed down through the generations by ancestors of the family. Each generation told the next one that a stash of money has been hidden in their house since the 1950s. As expected, they searched every nook and cranny but could not find the treasure anywhere. Since the family just wanted to find the money and sell the house as soon as possible, they decided to seek professional help. Keith Wheel, an expert in finding things, was hired by the family using a metal detector, and lucky for him, it didn't take long. As soon as he explored the attic, Keith found signs of a concealed object with the help of an endoscopic camera he used to peer into a crack in the room. In his quest, he discovered a secret keyhole that eventually led to a locked box hidden under the floorboards. Since there was no key, they had to smash the chest open and found lots of cash. It included bills dating back to 1934, 1935 and 1950. They were wrapped in $5,000 bundles in their original bank straps. On counting, they found that there were around $46,000 inside the walls of that house that would amount up to a whopping $420,000 in the 1950s. This is a treasure. The family must be thanking their ancestors for a long time to come for this generosity. Number 9. Woman discovers priceless Renaissance masterpiece. If obliviousness was a person, this 90-year-old woman would be her, and for good reason. This priceless work is hung in her kitchen, unappreciated and completely undervalued. She had no idea that this painting was hanging over a hot plate, and in reality it was one of the super rare Renaissance art pieces and probably was a minimum of 700 years old. Crazy, right? How did the painting even survive this long without professional care is a mystery for all of us. This incredibly beautiful piece of art is the masterpiece of a very famous Florentine painter named Chenet de Pepo. The old lady hadn't the slightest clue how valuable the painting was until she decided to sell her house and most of the things she didn't need in it. An art expert was lucky enough to spot it and point out its significance. Astonishingly, the painting sold for an unbelievable sum of $26 million despite lacking any professional preservation. That's a world record since it's the highest amount ever paid for a medieval painting. Number 8. Australian miners find Motherlode. This one, located in Kumbala, Western Australia, proved to be an extraordinarily huge home of treasure. Turns out this mine contains the longest and largest hauls of gold ever found in human history. This pay-to-hunt mine was previously just a nickel mining site, but in September 2018, a Canadian mining company unearthed what became known as the greatest discovery of gold. They truly struck the Motherlode with this one. Initially, the miners found more than 9 ounces of high-quality gold in its purest at around 1,600 feet underground, and that was just a snippet because they later realized that in 4 days, they'd found about $15 million worth of gold. This was a major jackpot for the company Stock and R&C Minerals, who rose an incredible 94.4%, and the experts were compelled to deem it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. After all, it's not every day you find boulders of gold while hoping to find nickel. Number 7. Man finds super rare comics in wall. Who knew that these extremely rare copies of the first ever Action Comics would be lying stashed behind a wall somewhere? But that's exactly what happened. This legendary comic book was found on the wall of a house in Minnesota. The comic is the first of an anthology series and featured the very first appearance of Superman in the world of comic lovers. The comic book geeks will tell you that this one is the single most important comic book in the history of all comic books. A contractor named David Gonzalez got fortunate while he was renovating this house he had bought for just $10,000. To his amazement, he found these Action comic books stuffed between the insulation of a wall. According to experts, there are only 100 copies of this comic in the whole world, and this was one of them. Naturally, there was a great demand for this, and it sold for a lucrative sum of $175,000. So Gonzalez made more than 10 times the price of his house just by selling these comics. Isn't he an exceptionally lucky man? Number 6. Guy finds ancient Roman villa in England. While installing electricity cables in an old barn of his Wiltshire farmhouse, what this British rug designer did not expect to find was an entire Roman villa. During the work, he hit a hard surface under the dirt and to his utter surprise, came across this enormous Roman mosaic said to be at least 1,500 years old. And that wasn't all, because these bright coloured tiles were a small part of this exceptional Roman villa that was built somewhere between 175 and 220 AD. Along with a mosaic, archaeologists discovered a well, a bathhouse, coins, jewellery and oyster shells that seemed to have been imported from the coast. The findings indicated that whoever lived in that villa was pretty wealthy at the time. But since the site is so extensive, the authorities are unable to avoid excavation and preservation of the entire villa. Therefore, most of it has been reburied. Number 5. Farmer finds Terracotta Army. We've all seen and heard about the famous Terracotta Army in China. This underground cavern was discovered completely by accident by a bunch of local farmers who were trying to dig a well in a field all the way back in 1974. After the initial discovery, archaeologists unearthed 8,000 terracotta warriors guarding the first Chinese emperor, Qin Shi Huang. The scale of this dig was so massive that it's considered to be one of the largest funerary projects ever to be carried out by an ancient society. These warriors are in place to protect the emperor as he travels into the afterlife. Since its discovery, a huge museum facility has been constructed around it to preserve and display it to the world. But in recent news, archaeologists have unearthed another 200 terracotta soldiers, 2 chariots, and 12 more clay horses. They also found a huge collection of bronze weapons. Lead archaeologist Chen Maosheng believes that the discovery of these ancient weapons will give the researchers more insight into how ancient Chinese military functioned in battle. It seems like the cavern of the Terracotta army is yet to reveal all of its secrets. Number 4. Ancient Roman mosaic discovered. Buried under the dirt of a vineyard located near Verona, Italy, is this incredible Roman mosaic. This breathtaking artifact is said to be from the 3rd century. The archaeological experts have been excavating the site day and night to determine the extent of this mosaic. Scholars did point towards the evidence of a grand Roman villa about 100 years ago, but it's only now that the researchers are making progress while uncovering the details of this ancient Roman palace. It's safe to say the Romans were the masters of secret keeping. Even many hundreds of years after their time, their best-kept secrets are still being unraveled and appreciated. Number 3. Priceless umbrella stand. Yep, you heard it right. This exquisite porcelain jar dating back to the Ming Dynasty was being used by its owners as an umbrella stand. My, were they unaware of how precious an artifact they had. This beautiful piece was once crafted, probably by an incredibly talented and famous artisan, for a Chinese emperor. But to the dismay of historians and art enthusiasts, this jar was being used to keep umbrellas for nearly 50 years. About 270 years old, this Chinese masterpiece is decorated with mountains and trees and was discovered by a Chinese ceramic specialist at Christie's auction house based in London. And as soon as the owner found out what her umbrella stand was actually worth, it went up for auction, where it sold for an unbelievable $2.5 million. Number 2. Red crystals. Did you know that there's an actual YouTube channel dedicated to hunting crystals, and this channel has garnered millions of views because of its exceptional discoveries of huge and precious gems. Most of their finds are usually unearthed from under a volcanic rock. These crystal hunters set out in search of rare rocks and geodes in the wilderness, where they slowly and carefully chisel them away to reveal breathtakingly beautiful and unique crystals hidden in the dirt. And people don't just love the fact that they discover the stones, but the entire process, from detecting their presence to the finished product reveal. It's just super satisfying and exciting to watch. Can you imagine the people behind this channel are making millions by just exploring rocks? They don't just find precious and rare stones that they probably sell for a whopping price, but also make bank by sharing the process on YouTube with millions of people. We have to give them credit for being as smart as they are lucky. Number 1. The Bar Mystery Safe. Farmer Kirk Maths came across this mysterious old safe that was found in Bar, New York. The safe was pretty rusty and came with a brief note saying whoever managed to open it could keep whatever was inside. Someone had dropped off this safe in the field while the farmer was out, and owing to its size, was probably transported using heavy equipment. While no one really knew why this 600-pound safe was abandoned in the middle of a field, they were keen to find out. Soon the entire town found out about this safe and started showing up to check it out. They tried all possible methods to pry it open, but it was useless. The safe is still unopened, and the town authorized have announced that they are planning to display the safe at the Bartown History Museum. The farmer who found it has stated that he wants the contents of the safe to remain a mystery for a little bit longer. Are you also curious what's behind that locked door? With that, today's video comes to an end. Do tell us in the comment section which discovery was your favourite and why. Make sure to give it a thumbs up too. We'll be back soon with another incredibly informative video for you guys. Until then, keep watching. See you all next time.